Hello and welcome to Card Central 365, powered by Gray Bar and presented by DraftKings. He is the most talented and reliable Ethan Hannaford, and we're talking Cardinals baseball, riding a four-game win streak in advance of a 115 first pitch against the Cincinnati Reds. And Ethan, last night's dominating 6-1 win over the Reds got to be encouraging for Cardinal Nation as they look to win this series this afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they set themselves up perfectly with Brent Suter going out there today, Wade Miley going to the injured list, puts the Reds in a tough spot pitching wise. You felt like last night, if you were somehow able to find a way to win that ball game, you were going to be in a really good spot. Ali Marmol described last night's game going into with the media as a survive day. You have to just find a way to survive. And the Cardinals did more than that. It was survive for probably the first 6 innings, but they broke through in that 7th inning and they were able to come out with the victory, a big win, and now 4 straight for St. Louis. Who, I know earlier in the year, fans, I was very much so like, listen, quit talking about the damn standings. No one cares in May. It doesn't matter. Just win ball games. We're starting to get to the point we can start peeking at them a little bit more. I peeked last night, 4.5 out. They have a wild card spot again. So it kind of gets your juices flowing a little bit, gets you a little excited that the Cardinals are back in the mix. The Cubs have lost a couple. Let's see if they can build on it and win a 5th straight today.
It's a little too early to be looking at standings and chasing those, but this is an interesting part of the schedule, right? This stretch, 13 games against division rivals in the next 16, and 7 of those are going to be against the division leader, Chicago Cubs. So anything you can get to gain ground here, stick it to the Reds, stick it to the Pirates. We saw that in particular in that 7th inning last night. Some really good plate discipline, some heart and hustle out of the recently recalled Thomas Ajacey. It was about to, it got really loud there at Busch Stadium. It was really encouraging to see.
Yeah, I mean, things got started. Actually, not in the right way necessarily when Jordan Walker popped out, but then a Pages walk, a Victor Scott hit by pitch, and then a Brendan Donovan walk, and all of a sudden, before the Reds can blink, Terry Francona is looking and saying, "Well, how are the bases loaded?" Well, they were with only 1 out, and Mason Wynn at the plate. He took such a great at bat, fought off some tough pitches, was down early in the count, and ends up muscling off a bloop single into shallow center field to give the Cardinals a 2-0 lead. And then Burleson followed that with the swinging strikeout. You're thinking, all right, well, it looks like you're only gonna get 1 run out of this inning, but you'll take any insurance you can get. But it wouldn't stop there. Taylor Rogers then walks Nolan Gorman, who took a really solid at bat. That's the end of his day. Tony Santillan enters into the game. And then all of a sudden, I think that the long inning starts to get to the Reds. Some good, and that has to do in part with the Cardinals taking some good at bats, in part with the Reds pitching not performing up to expectation, right? But Thomas Ajacey, a simple ground ball to third. Gavin Lux, not a great throw, but a pick that should be made over at first by Spencer Steer. He's not able to, and all of a sudden, standing out there for 20 minutes at that point probably really got to Cincinnati, and this game was blown open at that point, 5-0. Lars Nootbaar would take one of probably the most encouraging swings of the night, maybe of the past several weeks for him, when he smoked a line drive to left center field. He had a couple of really high exit velos last night. He led the game at one point in bat speed. Yeah, had 2 hits last night, over 100 miles per hour in exit velocity. So that is super encouraging from him, a guy that has clearly been struggling as of late, has been taken out of the leadoff spot, batting lower in the lineup to give himself the opportunity to figure things out. You tally that with the home run that he had the day prior. Some encouraging signs from Lars Nootbaar, but all of a sudden, like I said, you blink, and the lead went from 1 run to 6 runs, and the Cardinals were pretty much set up to win that ball game, and even better when you don't have to use your closer, Ryan Helsley.
Right. And so the Cardinals have a lot of bullpen help on call if they need it today with Grunillo. Helsley didn't pitch last night, not a save opportunity. Kyle Leahy and Steven Matz also with some availability out of the pen today. And it's a bullpen day for the Cincinnati Reds. Definitely Brent Suter gets the nod. There was talk that right-hander Chase Petty was on the taxi squad, and I haven't seen a roster move to activate the 22-year-old who's actually traded for Sonny Gray a couple of years ago in that Twins Reds swap. It was supposed to be Wade Miley's day, and he's on the IL now. So it's one of those things where if you can stick it to Suter, who can be very effective in this opener type of role, the lineup lends itself to that. The lineups just got released a couple of minutes ago, and you got a guy like Nolan Arenado, who's got a 1.747 OPS career against Suter with a couple home runs. Wilson Contreras also has a bomb off of him hitting cleanup today. This is an opportunity, I think, for a team like the Cardinals that doesn't exactly tear the cover off the ball, doesn't slug at a high rate, just kind of be able to stick it to them early would be fantastic to see and good support for Sonny Gray.
Yeah, I mean, when you look yesterday, I'm getting to the box score from yesterday. The Reds yesterday used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys. Now, of course, 3 of them only worked a third of an inning. When you go through the total pitches, Barlow threw 14, Rogers 20, Santillan 12, Phillips 21. So, I mean, it's already a semi-taxed bullpen. Some of those guys are going to have to throw back-to-back days, right? But they had to put in some work yesterday. It could make today really interesting. If the Cardinals are able to get to Suter early, then the Reds are going to be in big trouble, not only for today, but for tomorrow. So, like I said, yesterday put the Cardinals in a prime position to be able to take control, take care of this series. Obviously, sweeping for anyone expecting a sweep of a 4-game series, or really any series, is a little bit over the top. There were some fans even saying that the expectation should be to sweep the White Sox. People don't understand how difficult it is to sweep a team, even as bad as the White Sox. So, obviously, if you can find a way to win 3 out of 4, boy, would that look really nice. But a chance today to at least get your second. The Cardinals are set up in a really good position here because of the quality of at-bats that they took in yesterday's late innings. Brady Singer looked pretty good. Cardinals had some chances, but weren't able to capitalize early in the ball game. But sometimes it's just a matter of getting to the pen, and that's what the Cardinals were able to do yesterday. It worked out. Let's hope that that same quality that we saw from the Reds in those last couple of innings, that's what we see for 9 innings today. That's what we're looking for today, Luke.
Right, and I got ahead of myself there. We still got to touch a little bit on some of the highlights from last night. You already mentioned Lars Nootbaar with a couple of well-barreled balls. I think in that rally, particularly in the seventh, gets a slider middle, able to hit it up the middle, which I thought was great. Made it a 6-0 ball game. Alec Burleson, bottom of the first, with his 300th career hit, just barreled a double to right center off of the slider. And you're right, Brady Singer, like even going back to his time with the Royals, has always had some sharp stuff. And he hung in there tough. He's a gamer, and I really enjoyed that. Burleson now hits in 12 of his last 13 games. I think that 3 spot in the lineup is going to suit him well. Just a matter of how you stack it kind of around him. Probably Contreras, if I had my druthers, Contreras DHing, cleanup hitter. And then after that, pick your poison. I enjoy that. Um, And also this Thomas Sajacy guy, hitting a ball kind of off the heel of Singer in the second and reaching base there on the single. There's a Matt Carpenter kind of quality to him. I know this is not an original thought,
It's the no
but he's
batting
23
gloves,
years
my
old.
guy. It's the no batting gloves, right? Yeah, that's what it is, man.
Yeah, and it's a guy who can play all over the infield. He's 23 years old. He's kind of a gamer. I think he's got more of a
Yeah,
prestige, or I guess an aura to him as a prospect compared to, Carpenter kind of broke out
yeah.
under the John Mabry tutelage and all that back there in 13. Um, but yeah, love what I saw from the offense. And pivoting real quick, Andre Palante, elite ground ball guy, carved up the Reds. Chef's kiss. I mean, exactly what you would want to set up that bullpen, and really stick it to him. I,
Yeah.
I enjoy Palante when he is on. When he's on, he looks like a 2, I feel.
Yes, and that's consistently what he was for the last what half, 2/3 of the year in 2024, consistently, he was the number 2 behind Sonny Gray. It's been a different story this year as the league continues to make adjustments back. And but also some of his stuff just hasn't been nearly as sharp. His fastball run value last year was one of the best in baseball. It was one of the most important pitches because, I mean, when you are a guy that relies on contact as much as he does, you have to be able to throw that ball effectively so that the exit velo on those pitches is not through the roof. It has been much higher this year. The expected slug, the expected batting average, it's all been way higher this year against Andre Palante. And a lot of it has to do with the quality of the sinker. But it's not just the sinker. He gets set up really well, or he sets himself up really well with other pitches. And when he is able to effectively throw his breaking stuff, his off speed, it makes his sinker, his fastball, that much better. And this year, he has not been able to locate his knuckle curve very well at all. I thought that his knuckle curve last night looked better than it had at all this season. That was really encouraging. Only one walk last night from Palante. I think it was in the fifth. It was in the 5th or 6th. It was later in the outing. A long at bat. So that's an encouraging sign for Andre Palante. If Palante is able to continue to locate the off speed and set up that fastball well, I think he's going to be a lot better than he has been for a decent chunk of the last couple of months. Because we know that he has the stuff. We've seen him be able to be effective for long periods of time at the major league level. 2024 was proof of that. We just need to see him get back to a version of that. I'm not saying that I expect him to consistently be a 2, but I also expect him to be more than a 5 that is flirting with a 5 ERA.
Right. And the Cardinals with the 3rd best ground ball rate in baseball from the pitching staff at 46%. The Reds completely on the other end of that spectrum, 29th, and about 9% worse at the ground ball rate. And you're right, when that stuff does miss, you get susceptible to the long ball. And situationally, we've seen that with Palante. A little bit different arsenal with Sonny Gray, which we'll talk about in the second block. But encouraging to see, and even more encouraging, high leverage spot for Phil Maton there in the 7th, shuts him down. And the bullpen, other than a stray error there by Jordan Walker, probably had a chance to complete the shutout.
Yeah, the bullpen looked sharp last night. You mentioned Phil Maton and the work that he's done. He's been excellent all season long. John King, bumpy outing. It's been a little bumpy for him as of late, but Riley O'Brien comes in, takes care of business. Or excuse me, Jojo Romero comes in and takes care of business. And then Riley O'Brien finished up the ball game in the 9th. So in large part, this bullpen has looked sharp as of late. I really like what we're seeing from Riley O'Brien. Has, I think, thrown over 10 shutout innings in the month of June, which is very encouraging. The stuff continues to run more and more. And it just seems like a situation for a guy that didn't have a lot of major league experience coming into 2025. The more time that he has gotten out there, the more he has looked comfortable, the more confidence he is building in his stuff. And as a result, we're seeing Ali Marmol use him more. Now, given he's been a part of this club in a month where they are playing just as many games as there are days in the month practically. So it's a long stretch for the Cardinals. They need to be able to use all 8 of those bullpen guys. But Riley O'Brien has proven to be really sharp up to this point. And if we continue to see this with the quality of stuff that he has, with the ability to touch 98, 99, and have the movement that he does, it wouldn't be surprising to me if eventually he starts getting higher leverage opportunities. This was a guy that was very highly looked upon going into the 2024 season based off of the spring that he had, the work that he had put in during the prior offseason when St. Louis had acquired him. I really like Riley O'Brien. I hope that he continues to stay healthy like he has up to this point this year. And it wouldn't hurt for the Cardinals to be able to get another guy that they can rely on in higher leverage situations, especially when when Kyle Leahy has had some of the bumps like he has had as of late. Not that I don't trust Kyle Leahy, not that I'm even saying send down Kyle Leahy, because one, I think that you're going to get way more help and assistance in how to correct at the major league level than you are going to in the minors. And Ollie Marmol raves about Kyle Leahy and the work ethic and the effort that he puts in to always be looking to work on something, to improve on something. Those are the kind of guys that you want in your clubhouse. I'm not saying that he's been the most effective guy as of late, but the more guys that you have that you can rely on in this high leverage situations, all of a sudden you don't need to go to Kyle Leahy as much. I'm not saying that that's the case this very second, but if Riley O'Brien keeps performing like he has, if Andre Ganillo continues to look as sharp as he has, all of a sudden you're not relying on one guy in that situation, two guys in that situation. You can have a whole plethora of different guys that you can rely on in higher leverage situations. And right now, that's the direction I feel like this ball club is moving in. I feel like they've kind of finally figured out the right, I guess, I don't know, mixture of guys that they have in the bullpen right now, to where they feel confident that just about any single one of them can throw in almost any single situation. That's a super encouraging sign for me.
Yeah, you're talking about high leverage situations, and there's a lot of talk right now about what the Cardinals should or should not do at the deadline. In fact, if you're watching right now or watching on the replay, go ahead, leave a comment in the chat what your strategy would be buying at the deadline, what you want. How do you get this team just a step above at the end of July? And this phrase has been hackneyed to death, and GMs have done it for a long time. But sometimes the best improvement you can make at the deadline is internally. And in the case of Riley O'Brien, the right-hander, what a difference a year makes, right? And just throughout his career has been up and down, and actually made his debut with the Reds 4 years ago, got shelled as a starter, and now pitching pretty darn good. The whip at 1.08 for O'Brien, and internally, like, if the Cardinals can develop someone to be a proto setup man, and especially with the Helsley bumps as well, that have irked Cardinals fans all over,
To put it politely.
getting an intern improvement. Yeah.
Yeah, to put it politely, it's been a little bit bumpy for Ryan Helsley here as of late. Some of the stuff hasn't had quite the same effectiveness as it did in 2024. But I just want to make sure that all the fans have it straight here. 2024 was a career year for an all-star closer, not just for any closer, an all-star closer. So if you had the expectation that Ryan Helsley was going to have a sub-2 ERA in 2025, that was going to be the normal, that he was going to rack up 50 saves every year, perhaps that was a little bit unfair. I'm not saying that what you've seen out of him this year is what you are hoping for or expecting, but somewhere in the middle, right? I think you'd like to see a sub-3 ERA, and you would like to see a guy that's able to rack up save opportunities pretty consistently. It hasn't quite been that. The fastball has been hit pretty effectively here in the month of June. What I will say is that the coaching staff doesn't seem very concerned. You've heard Dusty Blake talk about it. You've heard Ollie Marmol talk about it. That you've also heard them mention that there were times this year where there were mechanical issues. So it's not that. So, there's been some random luck. I know teams have still hit him hard at times, but there has been some random luck mixed in there. What I'm saying is, let's hope that this averages out and that Ryan Helsley is able to get back to a version of what has made him so good, and that is the super effective mixture between, in large part, the fastball and the slider, and being able to throw in the curveball there as well. I mean, we know how filthy Ryan Helsley is. This is just silly. Eddie Money, I think you're trolling me saying Ryan Helsley is a joke. All these batters have watched him on tape and pitches the same crap. 102 with the slider mix is not the same crap. I can tell you that. So I get the fans' frustration, right? You have a guy that, the Cardinals at one point, you're saying, some people are saying, trade him. This is the time to trade him. His value's through the roof. Like, get stuff for him now. And there's people saying, no, we want to keep him to go all in. So I understand there's some frustration with especially the side, which is probably the majority, that we're saying trade him so you can get some of those prospects back. And his value is not what it was. I understand that. But I'm confident that Ryan Helsley is going to be a better version of what we have seen here for the past several weeks throughout the large majority of the remainder of the year.
I understand why the constant state of flux with the front office and not really knowing the plan kind of lends itself to how do you approach a trade deadline? And we just saw the Red Sox do it with that high profile trade of Rafael Devers to the Giants. Like the Red Sox have a wild card spot, and they're like kind of in the same echelon as the Cardinals in terms of competing. Like you
Mhm.
would like to grab and probably could grab the division crown, but there might be this retooling mid-season and you just have to navigate those bumps with the outgoing president of baseball ops. It's just wild. Final thoughts on last night's game 6-1 win over the Reds before we pivot to today's game, 1:15 start against the Reds.
Good win. Like I said, they set themselves up very well in this 4-game series. These are important games. The With the schedule change a couple of years ago, right? You don't have the luxury of playing your in division opponents nearly as often. So you have to be able to take advantage of these, especially in a year where you're back to being reminded of how important the division is. The Cubs look good, but it's not just the Cubs, right? The Reds and the Brew Crew are right there in the mix with you. You have to be able to take advantage and win those ball games. So do yourself a favor, Cardinals, and win and take today's game. Boy, then you look really good. But they set themselves up very well last night with a well-played game on what was supposed to be a survival day.
Let's make it 5 in a row. STL Sports Central, as always, presented by DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use the code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports for new customers to play $5 and get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
We're also powered by Gray Bar. For those of you who are just tuning in for the first time or looking at me and being like, who is this guy talking? If you are not familiar with the grander STL Sports Central catalog, I've been doing Battlehawks stuff on the network, loving it. And that's not happening anymore because that season's over. So I appreciate Ethan having me on and letting me yap for a little bit.
Yap
We
away.
pivot now to a 1:15, and Ethan would produce those football shows clutch. I mean, the goat. You are looking at the goat.
All right.
Speaking of the goat, Ivan Herrera on the IL with a grade 2 left hamstring strain. Unfortunate, given how much of a bopper he was at the start of this year. Thomas Ajacey, the 23-year-old, now up. It kind of gives some clarity to the catching situation because now you'll be able to bury Pedro Pages kind of in the 8 hole, maybe in the 9 spot if Victor Scott isn't playing, and Joel Pozo as well, able to spell him every couple of days. So this works out. It's unfortunate because the Cardinals need slugging as well. And on a day like this, a bullpen day where you could really mash and match up well, you're missing a guy like Ivan Herrera today.
Yeah, this is going to be tough. I mentioned this on last night's post-game show. This could end up being a really tough blow for the Cardinals. More than anything this year, more than losing 7 out of 8, the bad start to June, losing Ivan Herrera for potentially 6 weeks. That's the max. Could be as little as 2 weeks, but for potentially that long could really hurt St. Louis because of how impactful he is to the heart of that lineup when he has been healthy, how it has extended the heart of that lineup. But also, you just said it a moment ago, Luke, the lack of power production from the Cardinals. Losing a guy like that, where your power production is already so little, especially from the right side, where it's really just Contreras right now, it puts you in a really tough spot. So, listen, can the Cardinals overcome it? Absolutely, especially with, like you mentioned a couple of minutes ago, the emergence of Alec Burleson, who in the past month has just completely turned it on, has been one of the best hitters in baseball. Yeah, one of the best hitters in baseball, not just for the Cardinals or in the division, in baseball. So if he is able to continue performing, if Nolan Gorman, with the consistent opportunities that he's starting to get fed, can continue to move slowly in the right direction. I know the strikeout numbers have been up a little bit here these last couple of games, but we've seen some promising signs from him as of recent. If those two can continue to perform well, Nolan Arenado has looked better the last couple of weeks. His numbers are looking good. I think he's kind of had a little bit of an approach change. It's been way more aggressive. Has been very disciplined. If we can continue to see him move in the right direction, stuff like that, other guys are going to have to carry the weight a little bit more now because Ivan Herrera is not in there. Thomas Saggese included. It's a guy that in his limited opportunity in the majors, dating back to last year, but especially at the beginning of this year when Herrera was injured at the beginning of the year, this is a guy that's taken advantage of every opportunity. So I expect this to be a similar situation where you're able to, it was a little bit of a different situation last night because Arenado and Contreras weren't in there, but Thomas Saggese batted in the 5 spot last night. That should tell you, at least to a certain extent, what Ollie Marmol thinks about the utility right-handed hitter, right? So let's hope that he's able to also contribute offensively as well. They need him to. They most definitely need him to. There's not a lot of right-handed bats that you're saying without Ivan Herrera. Yeah, I feel good about him being able to contribute consistently. It's Contreras, Arenado, and Walker. That's about it, right? Mason Wynn, excuse me. I forgot Mason Wynn, forgive me. But Mason Wynn's in a serious slump right now. I know he had a couple of knocks last night, but prior to that, in his last couple of weeks, he was batting right around 200. So, and that's a guy in the 2 spot. So, Mason, I'm sorry I left you out. But that's a guy that's been cooling off, and the Cardinals could most definitely benefit from him getting back to original form. But still, 4 guys is not a lot. 4 guys for a major league roster is not a lot. So, the Cardinals got some work to do without Ivan Herrera. Everyone's going to have to pick up some slack.
Yeah, there's not really an intimidation factor when you go through the lineup. And I say that fully realizing that Alec Burleson's on a tear right now, 12 of 13.
Oh, you're right. You're totally
hitting
right.
And,
yeah.
Right. And I guess that's also maybe because you've got, I don't know, if I had my druthers again, playing Burleson every day at first base might lend itself to, because I mean, he's not a qualified hitter right now in terms of like the standing or statistic leaders and slugging and all that. Brendan Donovan is, because he's been in the lineup pretty much every day and slugging 438. It's good for 70th in the majors. In terms of today, like this matchup really lends itself to Nolan Arenado out the gate, Contreras as well against Suter. Those would be my picks to just click early on. And they really need it. Arenado of late hitting 308 in his last 10 games. Maybe that can turn into something extended. But yeah, finding a way to get those guys in the right combination. I think Marmol he's getting better at it over the last stretch. A couple of weeks, I think he's starting to form the lineup, moving Newt down and figuring it out. Donovan as well in the leadoff spot is probably the best fit right now.
Yeah.
And then this is kind of some PTSD for Cardinals fans, right? Because if you're trying to find the big impact, right-handed bat or complementary power bat, it's bringing up shades of, the Marcell Ozuna trade and trying to figure out exactly who can fit into this lineup for a competitive roster that does well in high leverage situations, but doesn't quite have the guy, that doesn't have the MVP Paul Goldschmidt era type of bat in the middle of the lineup that really shakes a pitching staff to its core.
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree with you. Eddie bringing up that Burleson could be that. Perhaps he isn't yet. As far as intimidation factor goes, he's been red hot as of late. The bat has looked very sharp. It's gonna. They're going. Ollie Marmol's going to continue to have to be creative with how he maneuvers and fits guys into this lineup because there still is an extra man right now for when you consider the guys that you want to play. If Jordan Walker is going to play in right, Lars Nootbaar is going to play in left, Brendan Donovan's going to play at second, and then Contreras is going to play at first, then you're stuck between Gorman and Burleson for your DH. And Burleson isn't going to be missing any time right now because of how good he has been at the plate. You have to have him in there almost every day. So he's going to have to get creative. It's going to be days like yesterday, right, where Contreras has a day off his feet. Burleson's at first. Maybe days when Walker is in has an off day in right, Burleson is in right, or maybe days when Newt is off. You could put him in left, or you could then put Donovan in left and have Gorman be at second, and all of a sudden Burleson's your DH. Right? There's a lot of different ways you can maneuver it, but you're starting to see as we talk through this. Even now, it's challenging to find spots for all of them. That's without Ivan Herrera, who is basically your built-in designated hitter. I just want to give fans and make sure that fans understand and have a clear-cut picture of how challenging, how difficult this lineup construction in 2025 has been for Ollie Marmol, because you're really trying to fit 7 guys into 5 spots consistently, and it feels like no one's ever happy with it.
You can't please everyone, and all you got to do is just, you got to fight and keep plugging away and keep finding solutions. And certainly a lot of pressure on Marmol as well. Going into a contract year next year, and Chaim Bloom taking over. This is a big audition. We pivot to the pitching matchup for today. We talk about right-hander Sonny Gray, battered around against Milwaukee last time out, 6 earned runs and 4 1/3. For Gray, we're seeing a lot of comments in the chat about, it's too hot, it's too humid in St. Louis, and boy, do I relate to that. But what's the key for Gray today to get off to a good start against the Reds?
Well, first off, yes, Sonny Gray. I don't know if he hates necessarily pitching in the heat, but what he does is he hates pitching with sweat. That's what he does hate, and I guess those are one and the same. But what we will see him do, and what we have heard that he does, is he will go down to the clubhouse, strip naked, and completely change everything in his uniform, every single piece that he is wearing, several times a game on hot days like this. He might do it every inning because of how hot it's going to be today. I think I heard it's the second hottest June 21st in St. Louis history. Like, what are we doing? Come on, like, what are we doing? So it's going to be that is going to create a challenge. That's going to create a challenge more than anyone for the equipment manager today. Bub's asking, can we get a mist fan next to the mound? I'm sure Sonny Gray and the pitching would all be okay with that. But it does create challenges. But I have a lot of confidence that Sonny Gray is going to be able to go back out there today, and he's going to get back to being right. The Reds are a team that at Great American Ballpark has had a lot of struggles against. At Busch Stadium, different story. He's been very good at Busch Stadium in 2025. His whole career, or his whole time here with the Cardinals, I should say, he's been very good at Busch Stadium. And, something even I think that is even more admirable when it comes to Sonny Gray. When you go through the game logs for 2025, you could argue, that he's had probably 1, 2, 3 blow-up starts. Where I'm looking in what I would consider blow-up starts is I'm seeing 4 1/3 innings, 9 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 2/3 innings, 7 earned runs, 4 1/3 innings, 6 earned runs. I think we could all consider those to be blow-up outings. Up to this point this year, in what you would consider to be a blow-up outing for Sonny Gray, he has been excellent following that outing up. His ERA is under 0.5 in outings following up the blow-up start. What does that tell you about Sonny Gray? We already know he's a workhorse. We already know that this is a guy that is very mentally tough, is going to find a way to work through trouble, to work through difficult situations. Sonny Gray, it gives me all the confidence in the world today, based off of what he has looked like following rough outings, that today is going to be a sharp one from him, especially against a Reds lineup that he has had success against. He's got the Busch crowd behind him today. I know it's going to be a warm one, but hopefully they show up. 1:15 start, that is absolutely brutal. But let's hope that we get the good version of Sonny Gray today. I definitely feel better about Sonny Gray than I do about a Reds bullpen game. That is for sure.
Sonny Gray pitching against his former team. And yeah, it helps to be a goldfish in these situations, right? Have a short memory. Probably in a short sample size, a small sample size, De La Cruz has taken him deep. Ellie De La Cruz and Spencer Steer a couple of times in 7 at-bats. So those guys in the lineup included and ready to go today. Yeah, Sonny Gray stripping naked in between in between innings. I mean, if you
Mhm.
come from a line of moist men, if you're reading DraftKings ad copy and you just gotta, figure it out, sometimes that's what you do. Anything to succeed in Sonny Gray, home run rate a little bit worse than league average, but fielding independent pitching wise, xFIP wise, it's the fifth best in the NL and 11th in baseball. So a victim of some bad luck and some bad situations, but all in all, been an impressive 2025 for Gray as the Cards look to stick it to the Reds. 1:15 first pitch on FanDuel Sports Network Midwest. Anything I am missing before the Cardinals extend this, Ethan Hannaford, to a 5-game win streak and gain some more ground on the NL Central leading Chicago Cubs?
Yeah, we'll quickly throw the lineups out there. That way, people are aware, and then we'll wrap. But starting with the Reds, T.J. Friedl is in center, leading off. Gavin Lux DHing. He'll be followed by Ellie De La Cruz playing shortstop today. Cleanup hitter Tyler Stevenson is catching. Spencer Steers at first and batting fifth. He's followed by Will Benson, who is out in left field. Santiago Espinal is at third, batting seventh, followed by Jake Fraley in right, and Matt McClain at second for the Redbirds. Brendan Donovan leading off against, and Brent Suter, the starting pitcher, 1-0 with a 2.91 ERA, but primarily as a relief pitcher this year. So he'll go up against Brendan Donovan, who's playing second and leading off. Mason Wynn at shortstop in the 2 spot. Burleson back in the 3. He's in right field today. He'll be followed by Wilson Contreras, who is at first. Nolan Arenado moved up to the 5 spot, and of course at third base. Nolan Gorman DHing today in the 6 spot. Lars Nootbaar in left, followed by Pedro Pajes and Victor Scott, catcher and center field, respectively. A lot of lefties in this lineup, but it's not a lineup it's not a situation, right, to where you can completely set up for facing Brent Suter for a large majority of this game. So I think that's why if you're seeing this, interesting, why are we seeing so many left-handed hitters against a left-handed pitcher? Well, for all we know, we could see Brent Suter for 1 inning, 2 innings, and that's all from him today. Now, he could stretch out a little bit, being that the Reds are in a little bit of a tough situation as far as pitching goes with how many guys they used yesterday. Maybe they try to get him as deep as possible. But I would imagine that is probably why you're seeing the Cardinals use so many left-handed hitters, because there's a good chance today you see 5 or 6 Reds relief pitchers in there again today. So let's hope that the Cardinals are able to get the bats warm as of early in this one. We know it's already hot here in St. Louis. Toasty day incoming, toasty weekend incoming, and let's hope, as mentioned, that the Redbirds bats are able to stick it to the Reds, and that they walk away with a series win here. I think I said that this was a 4-game series. This is a 3-game series, right? And then the Cubs are
You're
a
looking
4-game
ahead.
series. I totally mixed those up. Excuse me, fans. 3-game series against the Reds. Let's hope they can win the series today, and then 4-game series against the Cubs. My apologies.
Any momentum helps, and building wins, stacking wins, it's just one step forward. He's Ethan Hannaford. This has been STL Sports Central, Cards Central 365. My name is Luke Slabaugh. I want to say thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you right back here on the post-game show. Have a good one.